Welcome everyone, my name is Go Hollywood and today I'm going to be climbing in Historic Rank Best of 3 and I'm going to be doing it with a deck that is tried and tested for me personally, Gruul Aggro. So this is the deck so far that I have climbed in Best of 3 with to make it to mythic when I really want to. It's got an ability to have free wins. Now what is a free win? Well, it's basically a draw that is just so powerful that the opponent, if they don't have any interaction, is usually dead around turn 3, turn 4. So let's go over the deck. The deck's playing 8 1-drops. We're playing Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves is going to ramp us to have very, very powerful turn 3, turn 4 plays. Even for turn 2, if we play Llanowar Elves into some Burning Tree Emissaries and play one of our 3-drops out on curve, is making a very wide board presence. We're playing 4 Pelt Collectors. Pelt Collector grows every turn that it's played out on 1, generally. And after it gets so big, it also has Trample. The new card that we're playing is Scavenging Ooze. Now, I had Klothys in the main. Klothys' ability to deal 2 damage and gain you 2 life in this particular build has always been really powerful, but there are a lot of times where it's not a creature, and I really want to have something that can just hit hard and smash face with. So in a deck that is applying a lot of pressure in creature matchups, you have enough removal as well that Scavenging Ooze does grow, and if you're playing in the mirror match especially, if it's not dealt with immediately before it can grow, generally it can take over a game. Now, to be competitive, this card is so crucial. So this card is essentially free. It's free by the fact that when you play it, it generates as much mana as was put into it. So it really allows you for early explosive turns. Probably one of the more synergistic cards in the deck to really give this deck that power and that kick in that early turn that is needed. And if you want to play competitively, you need cards in your deck that act and do things like this card does. So we're playing 4 Burning Tree Emissary. Some of the removal of choice, we're playing Domri's Ambush. It's going to grow our creatures and allow us to get in for additional damage. But the fact that it can shoot down a creature or a planeswalker is quite relevant. I'm still playing 2 Gallia. Gallia is just a nice way to potentially have a bit of card advantage. Now, card advantage in an aggressive deck is like a double-edged sword. If you can continuously swing in and pitch and draw 2 cards, it's usually going to get you ahead. Also, it's double devotion when I do want to play Klothys and leave this in. I'm playing 2 Zertaw. Zertaw overall is one of the weaker cards. The fact that it can get bigger and that it does have haste, though, is relevant. Sometimes you just need to push extra damage after a sweep, or you need to apply pressure to a planeswalker, whatever. Also, you have a nut draw, and by nut I mean a very powerful opening hand when you have a Pelt Collector, a Burning Tree Emissary, and a Zertaw Goblin. You Pelt Collector on 1, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen this many times. Burning Tree Emissary on 2 into pumping the Pelt Collector into a Zertaw Goblin as a 3/3 to pump the Pelt Collector again. And that's followed up generally by, let's skip ahead, this card, Embercleave. This is one of the cards that really pushes aggro, especially red, of course, to the forefront. The fact that this card can be cheated out for cheaper than 6 is what makes it really good. Also, the flash ability. An opponent, by now I'm sure a lot of people expect it, but the ability to do it when you want is really big. Giving 1/1 and double strike and trample is usually just backbreaking. So when you go wide on your early turns, it's allowing you to play this out on turn 4 and hit for a ton of damage. One of the better creatures, if not the best creature to put this on, though, is Questing Beast. Because Questing Beast has Death Touch. So having first strike or double strike and death touch means that only 1 damage of death touch is needed to kill a creature. So Questing Beast can hit a 10-10 for 1 damage, kill it, and then the rest of that damage from the trample, from the double strike, goes over top. And Questing Beast is really hard to block. Also, the fact that it has its haste and vigilance makes it amazing. Bone Crusher is a card that doubles down. It's a blocker when we need it to be, but it's also 2 damage to either someone's face to end the game, or a creature to help kill it, or just to remove something that's in our way. And I'm playing 4 Gruul Spellbreaker. There's been a lot more Nexus decks running around, and they like to play Settle the Wreckage. So Gruul Spellbreaker helps stop that a little bit. It's a haster as well, and has trample. So again, when we want to be really aggressive, and if we're in top deck mode and we just need to get that final damage in, Gruul Spellbreaker is a great option because it can attack the turn it comes out. The mana base is pretty straightforward. I've seen a lot of different mana bases. I've seen people play Castle Empress. I've seen people play Fabled Passage. The reason I don't play Fabled Passage is because you want to make sure that you can play your lands untapped on turn 1, but also Fabled Passage thins your deck out, and this deck is playing exactly the amount of lands that it needs. So by thinning your deck out, sometimes you create these situations where you are being cut off from the mana that you need. The sideboard is really straightforward. I'm playing 3 Red Cap Melee. Red Cap Melee again, I've said this many times, red is one of the more dominant aggro decks in the format. So Red Cap Melee covers a lot of targets, but it doesn't always just have to hit red cards. You can hit anything, and if you have excess land, you don't care that you have to sacrifice one of them. I'm playing 1 Cindervines. There's a lot of enchantments in the format, but Cindervines really shines even in decks that are playing a lot of non-creature spells. That 1 damage, being able to go straight up to the face, just can sometimes be that push that you need. I've had a lot of games where all my creatures were dead, but they just couldn't play any spells without dying because Cindervines was going to shoot that 1 final damage. And also being able to do 2 damage when you have to destroy those enchantments or those artifacts that need to be destroyed. I'm playing 3 Goblin Rune Blaster. This is one of my favorite sideboard cards. It's not necessarily the most powerful, but it really gives you what I said earlier on those free wins. So the ability off of Llanowar Elves to ramp into a Goblin Rune Blaster, I bring this in against 3-color decks all the time. To be able to cut somebody off of one of their colors can completely ruin any plays for them. So in an aggressive deck, you're just applying so much pressure, so that can be what you need to win. But the utility to destroy utility lands that you need destroyed, is phenomenal. You know, flip Search for Ascantas, Field of the Dead, whatever. I'm playing 2 Rampaging Ferocidon. You're aggressive, and there are decks where they can just gain so much life that you just run out of steam eventually and they stabilize. So Rampaging Ferocidon helps negate that life gain. But also, it's a great tool against Field of the Dead. So when I first started playing Gruul, the top 2 decks that I played against all the time were the Mirror Match and Field of the Dead. Now, you don't see as much Field of the Dead anymore, but it is still around and it can still just steal games. So Rampaging Ferocidon does a lot of work there. But also there's Goblins running around now, Merfolk, maybe not a tier 1 deck, but there's a lot of creature-based decks that play a ton of creatures. You know, Cat Oven even, right? Rampaging Ferocidon, great against them. I'm playing 2 Lovestruck Beast, and this is for decks that actually are more aggressive than what we're doing. You know, when we have those draws that are a little more removal heavy or a little more top end heavy, Lovestruck Beast is really good against mono red because they have a hard time dealing with the 5 toughness, and it's also really good in the Mirror Match because a lot of damage that we do kind of taps out and ends around 4. I'm playing 2 Thrashing Brontodon. So you can play a bunch of different destroy target artifact enchantment cards But the fact that you can have a 3/4 blocker / attacker in the early game is usually quite important. It's good in the mirror match as well, blocking a certain creature and being able to sacrifice. And mind you, you have to leave 1 mana open, but catching opposing Embercleaves coming in. And then I'm playing more Graveyard Hate. There are so many Graveyard decks, and honestly, even in control matchups, I'm bringing this in just because they can't get rid of it. And in control matchups, they're casting their spells, it's filling their graveyard, so you're having tons of fuel to deal 2 damage and gain you 2 life. Rarely ever am I exiling lands to make mana. So that's the deck, and let's jump in and see how it does. So we're going to play traditional historic rank to make sure we're in best of 3. I will definitely be on the play first. So on the play, this hand is fine. Not having a 1-drop. Generally you want to have a 1-drop, but we have some utility. We have 3 creatures. We have land. I'm keeping. Hopefully we can find another mountain to get Embercleave out. We're going to lead with a mountain, so our opponent is unsure of exactly what we're playing. It's not always super important, but I like to lead with a mountain. So I'm actually going to establish board presence before I shoot the Llanowar. They might have a really powerful turn here. Playing a bunch of... Okay, so just 1 Gruul Spellbreaker is fine. There is our other mountain. Let's go ahead and create our own 4/4. So now we have the ability to swing in and play Embercleave on this turn, and unless they have a Domer's Ambush, which they might have, they're kind of hesitating here. Okay, they're just casting a Bone Crusher. So now it's who's going to attack first and start racing. I can't block, unfortunately, because I want to be able to attack an Embercleave. So if I attack an Embercleave, Gruul Spellbreaker can go up. So what do they block? Bone Crusher is probably blocking Spellbreaker, so if they want to trade off, or if they want to block that way, that's fine with me. Okay, perfect. So we're going to get a free kill, and this is exactly what we want with this deck. Now this puts me in the driver's seat. Scavenging Ooze can come down and start gaining life. Bone Crusher can take out their Llanowar. They're going to have a hard time dealing with this Spellbreaker. They need a Domer's Ambush. So that's pretty aggressive, attacking in like that. We have lethal just on board with the Spellbreaker. So they have to block. If they want to chump out, that's fine. We'll go to damage. So they're tapped out right now. I'm going to play Scavenging Ooze. And I'm going to eat one of their creatures. So I'm going to shock in the Stomping Ground so we can hold up this Bone Crusher Giant. and probably shoot down something of theirs. If we really wanted to, we could even just eat their Zerta and grow to a 4/4. Questing Beast is fine. Okay, so now that they attacked with that, they're taking a blocker out. Unless they want to tap their Llanowar, but again, that's also fine. We're just going to block it anyways. They get to Burning Tree into Llanowar. Okay, so I'm just going to eat a creature now because there's no need to kill anything on their turn. We can still do it on ours. Doesn't matter. Generally, these matchups come to whoever gets Embercleave out first. So this, we bring in Lovestruck Beast, Thrashing Brontodon, bring in Klothys, and Red Cat Malay. So in this matchup, a lot of people play this differently. I cut my Pelt Collectors. Pelt Collector is one of your worst top decks. Llanowar Elves is as well, but you still want that mana acceleration, especially when you have sinks like Scavenging Ooze. Gallia you're not attacking with. Gallia is more for control and bigger decks. And then I have been cutting my Zerta Goblins a lot lately. So we're gonna cut at least one. I'm here. I'm gonna cut both. Bone Crusher just depends on what they're doing. If they sideboard the same way or not, it becomes a lot worse. But most people leave their Pelt Collectors in. So, and it does block Questing Beast. So we're gonna go like this. Now, I don't know what our opponent has in their sideboard. They could honestly be playing anything. Okay, so this hand's great. Lovestruck Beast is one of the best cards we can have in this matchup. Scavenging Ooze is going to get out of control potentially, and Klothys for continuous damage, which now that Scavenging Ooze is in the format is a little bit better in the mirror match aspect, but the 2 damage from Klothys can most of the time be enough to just cheese an opponent out. So no one drop by our opponent. It's good for us. Hopefully they don't have too many things they can do with this emissary. Okay, so a Burning Tree would have been great there, but no such luck. So we just say go. We want to hold Scavenging Ooze so it can at least eat something so they don't Bone Crusher it the turn it comes out. So when they move to attacks, okay. Now we stomp the Robber. Zerta is fine. We're going to get Lovestruck Beast out, and we're going to hopefully fade an Embercleave or a Questing Beast. And again, this is why we don't play Fabled Passage. Our deck right now, we can't double spell. We have 3s, 4. We want to get to 6 mana. We want to get to 7 mana so we can double spell with these heavier hands. Our opponent leaving in Gallia just tells me that we're going to probably win this. Okay. So we have a heavy swing here. Now I have to decide if I want to take the time to set up Clothis, or if I want to get aggressive. So next turn I'll have 5 mana, so I can play, if I want, I can double spell. So let's maximize our efficiency and play Questing Beast. And that's 9 power swinging in. Like, if they want to double trade on Lovestruck Beast, that's a 2-for-1. We're completely okay with that. Okay, there's a piece of removal. Okay, so our opponent is being aggressive now, being the aggressor. Holding up 2 mana. So we have double forest, so even in response to them trying to Bone Crusher our Scavenging Ooze, we can, in response, eat another creature. So they cannot Bone Crusher, kill our Scavenging Ooze. If they want to waste it on it, that's completely fine. Perfect. So we're going to swing in another turn here. We have more life and we have life gaining capabilities. If we draw a land, we can Gruul Spellbreaker into Clothis and block as well, which puts us in a very good position. See, this is where I was talking about Red Cat Malay really shining. Because I'm in my end step, I can't cast something else, so I have to eat something of theirs to give myself a little bit of life gain. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a Bone Crusher actually off of this attack would be lethal. So they're not pitching anything. So I'm going to have to slow play this as greedy as I want to be. If they have a Bone Crusher, which is highly likely, we're just dead. So we do have to block this Zertal Goblin. Okay, so they have Embercleave. It doesn't matter. So again, a game that just shows first person to Embercleave wins. They're playing a bunch of 2-drops, so I think I'm going to actually put Bone Crusher back in. I'm going to trim 1 Clothis. I want to really be able to attack through here. Okay, so hoping for a really good hand. We don't have any removal, but this hand is super aggressive. We have double red. If we have such live draws on a hand like this, Burning Tree to accelerate into a Gruul Spellbreaker on turn 2 as well. Opponent also, there's an Embercleave. So that's going to allow us to swing in the next turn and cast Embercleave on this Spellbreaker, which could be enough. So we have to really hope our opponent just kind of plays some mopey creatures. Perfect. So Embercleave on Llanowar would kill the Zertal Goblin, but we just want to, again, get the Gruul Spellbreaker out of Domri's ambush range and apply immense pressure. So if they can't deal with the Spellbreaker is coming in again really heavy. If they tap out, we can shock in Stomping Ground and grow the Skoos as well past a Bone Crusher stomp. Now we don't have to shock in as well. They have to double block. Alright, even a Domri's ambush isn't quite good enough. And there it is. First Embercleave wins. That's usually how this matchup goes. Claim prize. And let's fire it back again. Architect and Tamio. Awesome, we get to play first. So this hand is really tough. Burning Tree Emissary will provide us red, so if we have to, we can Burning Tree Emissary into a Stomp. We're going to get to grow Pelt Collector. I'm going to keep this and hope to draw red. Usually this is the kind of hand you can kind of gamble on because you do have other plays. Okay, that was not the draw that I wanted. So I'm actually going to Burning Tree into Scavenging Ooze. It's going to go wider on board for us and apply more pressure. So far, Temple Garden doesn't tell me what they're playing, but they're playing white, so I can highly guess that they're playing Shatter the Sky. Okay, so this is probably Bant Reclamation. Not being able to play a spell here and curve out is really rough. Okay, so they must not have double white if they're pitching that Shatter. I'm 100% going to keep eating their cards with the Scavenging Ooze while I can to keep them off of Flipping Search for as long as possible. So here we're just kind of getting punished. If I was able to draw a land, we could have at least Questing Beasted. This is fine if they have to buy themselves a turn. It's just going to chump block. So this is the question, and this is what's going to be difficult, is, I mean, we're still going to play Llanowar Royals because if they don't have a Shatter the Sky, that guarantees Questing Beast. But if they can wipe our board and we don't draw land, they're probably winning this game. There's a white, and of course there's a Shatter. Really need to top deck a land. Oh, and it's a red land. Perfect. So we're going to hold Bone Crusher to maybe shoot them for 2. Having double Questing Beast. They have to deal with the first one, and if they can't deal with the first one, we got a second one. Okay, Earl's going to buy him 3 life, which is actually going to keep him alive. So we need to draw a Gruul Spellbreaker off the top. Okay. Okay, so we have to be really careful with this. We don't want them to untap. So we're going to say end turn. Oh, okay. I missed it. Perfect. I don't understand why they shocked there. Okay, against Reclamation, we 100% want to be able to destroy their enchantments. They are playing Uro, so we will bring in Clothis. Even though they're gaining life, they're playing board wipe, so Ferocidon is a lot weaker against them. It's something you'd probably want on the play because it's really aggressive, and if they don't have a Shatter, it can cheese them out. So again, I cut Pelt Collectors in this matchup. They're just bad top decks, and they don't do enough for us. We want haste, and we want to just apply as much pressure as possible and kill them as quick as possible. So on that note as well, we're going to cut Zertaw. I bring in the Rune Blasters. They're better on the play, but killing a flip Search for Iskanta or just keeping them off their colors is really good. So I cut Zertaw, and we're going to trim one Embercleave and one Gallia. I do want to keep the ambushes in just in case they resolve a creature, and I think they're playing Night Pack ambushers in the sideboard, so we want to make sure that they don't keep that around because that card can be extremely difficult to deal with. This hand, again, super questionable. We have Llanowar on turn 1, which gives us Questing Beast on turn 3. Cindervines is really good in this matchup, so we are going to keep this, but we're really going to hope that we can just draw creatures and we don't draw too many lands here. Another Questing Beast is fine, not great. We'd rather diversify our threats. It is legendary, so we can only play one at a time. And that's probably the worst draw we could have hit. So because they played a tap land, I'm going to get in for damage there. I'm not worried about them playing Growth Spiral into Wilderness Wreck. Okay, so we just have to hopefully fade a Shatter the Sky. Okay, so that's nice. So what are we doing here? We're going to shock in so we can hold up one for the Cindervines. They might have an Aether Gust here. We're going to decline this because we still have 2 in our hand. Timely is annoying, but not the end of the world. They can't block Questing Beast. So we're sitting in a good position. Okay, there's a Shatter. That's fine. Okay, there's a Clothis. Because we have Embercleave out, I'm gonna... Okay, I'm gonna play Clothis. And then we're gonna Bone Crusher them on their turn. And if they don't win the game on this next turn, we're sitting pretty. As well, we get to eat this Uro out of the way. So if they're banking on casting Uro. Okay, So this is just game now. They're tapped out. They go to 5. I guess it's not completely game, I lied. They have a turn. Doesn't matter. Perfect. All right. 1 win away from hitting Platinum Tier 1. I'm going to buy a pack right now while I have the gold because I love to see what I get. I buy these packs as soon as I have the gold and I'm chasing a final mythic. So let's take a quick look and see what we got. Oh, a mythic. Yes. That makes me happy. One more and I get another one, and I'm very close to finishing a deck that I cannot wait to showcase. Oh, that's the deck I can't wait to showcase. But let's continue on with Gruul Aggro and see if we can climb to Platinum Tier 1. This card is so cool. Okay, so we haven't gotten any free wins yet. We've had some pretty good games. Opponent goes first. Double Pelt Collector, Llanowar. We're gonna lead with the Llanowar and potentially play Double Pelt Collector the next turn. But this hand seems fine. Pelt Collector will trigger off of Scavenging Ooze and Bone Crusher coming out. A piece of removal is awesome. Okay, they're playing a Guild Gate, so this could potentially be a Field of the Dead deck. So we want to kill them as quick as possible. They will wipe the board, and their inevitability is a lot better than what we do. Okay. I do want to get both Pelt Collectors down, but I drew a Burning Tree Emissary, so that changes things a bit. I'll play one. And I'm going to play the other Pelt Collector out so we can grow it. Okay, so that's interesting. Gallia is going to allow me to draw cards. And at this point, I think that's honestly good enough. I'm missing some lands, so... And I wouldn't have drawn any. Our opponent has one white, so hopefully our opponent does not shatter the sky here, or we are in big trouble. Earl's fine. Again, no white is good. There is a white. So, Shadow of the Sky will be really good for them. Teferi's super annoying. Okay, there's a land. The inevitability of Earl coming back after they wipe the board, though, is just so threatening. So unfortunately, if they have a shatter, I have to just eat that Earl right now anyways. I will take action. Perfect. So we can at least, after getting swept, play Questing Beast. Questing Beast is one of the better cards in this matchup because Field of the Dead cannot block it. Now that we've dealt with their Uro, we don't have to worry at this moment for it coming back. Embercleave would be a great draw. Opponent establishing board presence. Opponent really establishing some board presence. So they also have the ability to crack that for another blocker. See, now we're one mana behind. Scavenging Ooze has to eat this Earl. I want to get Questing Beast out to pressure them out of play, but unfortunately I just cannot do that. So what's our play here? If I Rootbound Crag and attack first, we can potentially hit an Embercleave. So let's go ahead and start with that. Okay, no Embercleave. Okay, so let's go ahead and eat Uro. And then we're going to keep our Scavenging Ooze alive, eat this Rejuvenator. And we can establish a little bit of board presence again by Burning Tree into Pelt Collector. And hopefully fading a Shatter the Sky, because Shatter the Sky is really good for them. Ugin is also really good. It only has to minus for 2. Hopefully they miss a land. Well, that's annoying. So now we just unfortunately have to just cast everything into this. I've done this matchup so many times. Ugin's going to be able to kill the Llanowar Elf, but that's fine. We're still casting it out anyways. It keeps it from our face and buying a turn. Embercleave is going to be our best draw here. If we can fade an Embercleave, or a Shatter and draw an Embercleave. Okay, opponent going right for the face, which makes me think maybe they drew the Shatter the Sky. No, I definitely think they drew Shatter the Sky. We're gonna get to draw. Oh, a second Ugin. I don't. Huh. Even if we attack this down to 6, I just don't know if I can beat Ugin at this point. Double Ugin is really good there for them. At least it makes them minus down. They still could have Shatter the Sky in hand. They could Shatter. This match is pretty much over. This matchup is really difficult if you can't kill them quick enough, or if they have really fast draws. Yeah, we're not getting by Ugin. Okay, so Ferocidon. We're bringing in Rune Blaster. We're going to bring in 1 Klothys. We're going to cut Pelt Collectors because they get swept up way too easily. And Zertog. Gallia in this matchup early on will still draw us cards, and we need to fuel as much as possible. Cindervines is potential consideration. It would have dealt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage, which would have put our opponent to 4, which would have kept a Questing Beast live attack off the top. So I am going to bring in Cinder Vines, and I'm going to trim a Gallia. We're on the play. This hand is absolutely garbage. This hand is also garbage, but we're not mulliganing again. Get rid of the Embercleave. And maybe we'll draw a Burning Tree Emissary for turn 2. So at least we can get a little bit of pressure on board. Of course, we do have Questing Beast and Embercleave. If we can get another land and get Questing Beast out the following turn, we need another red, so we need to draw a mountain. See, this is a hand where if we would have had enough early pressure, we'd be in such good position right now. Well, there's the mountain. That was one of the better draws. So if our opponent doesn't shatter the sky, we have this game. Also, Teferi is kind of annoying. Uro is 100% fine. Looking to just fade Aether Gust. So a piece of ramp. Okay, another Uro. That puts them out of range for us to kill them. So double Uro is good for them there. Always good for them there. And we can't even play our Burning Tree because we have to be able to attack to cheat out Embercleave. So we're in a decent position, but not a great position. We could still die super easy. They haven't slammed. If they had Shatter the Sky, they should have done that first. So I don't think they have it. Teferi's still not going to do it. They need to gain more life. They could still Aether Gust, Questing Beast. Okay, perfect. So you see how close that matchup was. We had 4 lands in play. I don't know if we missed a land drop. And our opponent has 9 lands in play and has established a board presence, so... On the draw, things are a little trickier. I'm just going to keep it the same. This matchup just really depends on them not having a lot of things. So we have 2 lands, but a land comes into play tapped. We just can't keep this. We need something better. This isn't great either. We're gonna have to keep this though. Get rid of a Llanowar. They're not gonna do enough. One is more than enough to give us that accelerated start. Ferocidon could be really good. So the Ferocidon is really tricky. You have to time this out really well. Turn 2 field both times is really annoying. They could play Teferi. So as much as I want a Giant and then into Spellbreaker to be able to swing with the Giant next turn if they play Teferi, we'd rather just have the Haster in play. This is a race and Spellbreaker's going to get it there faster. Okay, so they didn't. They had Cultivate. Not grabbing double white, again, is kind of strange. We don't want to play Ferocidon before the Shatter. We're just going to cast Bone Crusher and swing with the team. Looking to fade Shatter. Okay, so there's a Circuitous route, which is going to start making field zombies. Now, how many zombies are they going to make next turn? I'm going to play out the Ferocidon now. Because even if they wipe the board and play some zombies, Questing Beast is going to get to come in next turn and do some damage. Alright, don't have Shatter the Sky. Don't have Shatter the Sky. Don't have Shatter the Sky. Teferi is A-okay.
Stand by and watch. I've got it.
Oh man. So now if they Circuitous route, wow. They have to shot. Okay, this is tricky. That was really good for our opponent. Questing Beast gets there in 3. They have to double block, double block. We're just going to attack with the Questing Beast so they can't kill our creatures by double blocking. They get free creatures anyways, so if they want to wipe the board and kill all their creatures, that's fine. I'd rather that than them attack in and get a bunch of damage in. 3 Field of the Deads is really bad for us here. Another Teferi.
Excellent timing.
Really would have liked to draw some mana so we could get this Ferocidon out as well.
Don't worry, I got it.
Not enough cards to play out Uro yet. We have to keep watch of that because it will gain them extra life. Doesn't matter. Okay, so Ferocidon really needed here. They might just overwhelm us. One, two. So that actually gets to a 3, kills our board. So that's just... frick. Blast Zone's just game.
Here we go. This is hardly my worst defeat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Traditionally, that matchup is always difficult. Play another one though anyways. This hand seems fine. It's a little land heavy, but we have a nice early curve, so... Burning Tree into nothing always feels bad, but you have to play your spells. Burning Tree into Bone Crusher would be good for them, or double Burning Tree into Bone Crusher would be good for them. Singleton Bone Crusher, super okay with. Now we're just drawing a ton of lands. We're going to haste in because Bone Crusher coming down blocks Spellbreaker on 4 anyway, so if they're only playing the Bone Crusher, we can still at least trade with it. Really looking to draw a piece of removal. That's even better, and that is even better for us. See, this is the tricky part now. If our opponent blocks the Burning Tree Emissary, unfortunately, we have to Ember Cleave on the Burning Tree Emissary to kill the Spellbreaker, because if our opponent has a Domri's Ambush, not only are they killing our Burning Tree on this turn, on the next turn they're killing our Spellbreaker, and then we're just dead. So at least by putting this on the Burning Tree, we get to kill their creature, and our Spellbreaker is still alive. If we don't draw anything relevant to play, we still can just equip the Ember Cleave onto the Spellbreaker. The big thing there is just keeping them off creatures. So we already played this matchup. We know how it's going. Pelt Collectors and Gallias, and then Zertas. I don't know how many 2-drops are playing. Bone Crusher could be a potential better cut, but also just depends on how they're going to sideboard. Oh, this hand with one more land would be really good. We have 2 pieces of removal, which is really key in this type of matchup, and Scavenging Ooze after the fact. If they don't kill our Llanowar Elves, we're probably okay, but this is super risky. I have to mulligan this. This hand's not great either, but we're keeping it. Embercleave is our win con, but we don't have 2 red sources, so we do have to just get rid of it. So Bone Crusher is a good draw there. That's going to allow us to play Scavenge News later on. Okay, our opponent has a awesome start. We have to kill the Llanowar Elves to slow them down mana-wise. We can't let them play a Questing Beast this turn or we're just dead. Our opponent plays nothing, really. Well, this is really good for us. If they want a Bone Crusher, the Burning Tree Emissary, that's fine. We're going to trade off with the Spellbreaker, and they're left with just a Burning Tree Emissary. Okay, our opponent cannot Embercleave. They're 1 mana shy, so we are definitely blocking here. 100% okay with that. So again, I kind of want to hold the Spellbreaker. It has haste. If our opponent has Embercleave, I don't want to trade off with this Brontodon, though. I think now is a fine time to play Scavenge News. Hopefully they don't have a Domri's Ambush. Missing a land drop hurts there. Okay, their own Scavenging News. So, we can't block. We get to untap and grow ours bigger. This is such a crucial turn. 2 in their graveyard, 1 in ours. So that's 3. That goes to 6. Yeah. We're just going to clean up so theirs can't get bigger. No attacks. They can't attack past our 6/6. Okay, so now we're kind of doing the thing. Emissary into Brontodon. So now even if they have Embercleave, then we get to block and destroy it. They don't. 1 more land and we can just attack with our Scavenging News. Which is 14. Okay, so I'm going to wait 1 more turn. Okay, our opponent just has a bunch of things too. They still can't attack because, well, I guess they can. Tapping out there though, we get to eat their creatures, which is going to grow our Scavenging News to the point of being able to swing in for a massive amount of damage. So that's 8, that's 16. We're at 14. We can still stop an Embercleave. So let's get a Questing Beast out. And whittle away some of their creatures. They can eat both to go to a 5. Skargan Hellkite. Interesting. So now we get to eat again their creature. So that, if we draw a land, is potentially lethal. Five, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm just going to Embercleave. We have 2 blocks, and they can't deal with the Scavenging Ooze, so I don't see how they win. Good game. I like that. Skargan Hellkite I don't think is really good in this deck. If anything, you want to be lower to the ground and more aggressive. Okay, so let's take a little look at the deck right now, just to finalize my thoughts on it. Now, I've been playing this list besides the Scavenging Ooze for quite a while. You could build it a bunch of different ways. I'm curious what the deck would look like if there were more 2-drops in it to lower the curve and maybe even up the removal a little bit. So you could add a 3rd Domri's Ambush, maybe trim out Spellbreaker potentially. I mean, it is good when it is good. It's got haste. But there are a lot of other 2-drops in the format that are really, really good and aggressive, that do a lot. One off the top of my mind, I can't think of what it's called. It's a red guy. Let's see. It's I missed him. I must have missed him. Right here, Robber of the Rich. That's right. Okay. So another card that has a lot of power to it is Robber of the Rich. Again, if your opponent sweeps your board, you're in a lot of trouble. But when you lower your curve, you can start to cut down a bit on your lands. So for example, if you wanted to get rid of the Gruul Spellbreakers, or maybe put 1 in the board or 2 in the board, you probably don't need them at all if you're going to be cutting them. To add cards like Robber of the Rich, it's going to lower your curve a bunch. You still want to be able to double spell, so you're not going to cut a lot of mana. You're probably just going to trim 1 land. But it allows your Burning Tree Emissary turns to really stand out. Also playing Llanowar Elves, you're going to be dumping your hand out in the first few turns, which is really aggressive and is a little bit more powerful with Embercleave. Embercleave becomes better when you have a lot more lower CMC creatures to play out earlier, so you can play Embercleave more consistently on turn 3, on turn 4. So getting rid of Gruul Spellbreakers for 3 mana and replacing with a card, for example, like Robber of the Rich. It doesn't have to be Robber of the Rich, but for example, like Robber of the Rich, it's just going to make your Embercleave a little bit better. So if I was to play this deck again, it's something I would experiment with and just see how it feels. Gruul Spellbreaker being a 3/3 and having Trample, though, can get past opposing 2/2s that are blocking Teferis that need to die, for example. So things like that are just things you'd have to play test out, but it's an option. And then your sideboard is the other thing here. So your sideboard can really fluctuate and change. We were able to win all of our matches except for Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead traditionally has always been very challenging to navigate as a Gruul player, just because their inevitability is so good. So if you cannot be aggressive enough and they draw their sweepers for turn 4 and you don't have them dead, then generally they are going to win the game. So Rampaging Ferocidon, when I played that match, I opted to go with Questing Beast out first. That could have been wrong. If I would have waited, it's hard to say. They might have had Teferi in their hand and it might have not mattered at all. It could have been 100% their game. But potentially Rampaging Ferocidon could have been a better play in game 3 than the Questing Beast, and then I could have followed it up by the Questing Beast. You don't want too many Rampaging Ferocidons. If you're playing against a bunch of Field of the Dead decks, then sure, opt for another Rampaging Ferocidon if you'd like. Klothys, I have 2 of. Klothys could actually be cut down to be a 1 of. Because we have Scavenging Ooze now, Scavenging Ooze is more the graveyard hate card of choice, because it just, as you've seen in that last matchup, in the mirror match, Gruul can't even deal with Scavenging Ooze past a certain point. So not only was it exiling their cards to keep their Scavenging Ooze down, but it gained life and grew to a size that they just could not deal with. So that could be a switch for Scavenging Ooze and cutting Klothys. There's a lot of ways you can build the deck. I hope this was a little bit of help to you, and I'll see you guys next time.